Hi, we are the Test and Contain team, and in this video we present a resource-optimal testing and containment strategy for reopening educational institutions safely and quickly. This is an MD4SG project developed in collaboration with a major university in Mexico. The COVID-19 pandemic has shut down many schools and universities, sometimes for months on end. The academic and mental impact on children and students has been severe, and for many their future life prospects have been dimmed. We need to reopen educational institutions as quickly and safely as possible to ensure that future generations are not held back further. Suppose, for instance, that we want to reopen a university with 500 professors, 500 cafeteria workers, and 9,000 students. The professors and cafeteria workers interact with large numbers of students and are essential to keeping the university running. With enough testing resources, we could simply test everyone daily and isolate those that are infected. But testing capacities are often extremely limited, especially in developing countries. This is due to many factors including a lack of testing kits, trained personnel, and laboratory equipment. Suppose, for instance, that the university can only perform 500 tests per month. What is the best testing strategy to allow the university to stay open while keeping the virus contained? Our project, Test and Contain, provides answers for precisely this kind of question. Our mechanism determines optimal ways of allocating tests and allows decision makers to tailor their reopening strategy to their institution's priorities. In the next few months, our mechanism will be deployed to multiple campuses in universities across Mexico. Maximizing the use of limited testing resources is fundamentally a resource allocation problem that balances two objectives: reducing the spread of the virus and minimizing the impact of quarantining on the population. In order to minimize virus propagation, we could consider allocating tests to potential superspreaders. In our example, these might be the professors or cafeteria workers, as they interact with large numbers of people. And to mitigate the impact of quarantine, we could prioritize the essential workers in the university, or those who are not able to study or work remotely. To increase the reach of each available test, we can perform group testing, where samples from several people are mixed and tested with a single qPCR test. If the outcome of the group test is positive, we know that some individual in the pool has the virus. If the outcome is negative, all individuals in the pool are healthy. Existing group testing efforts typically focus on diagnosing every individual in the population and minimizing the number of tests required to achieve this. But what can we do if we don't have enough tests, even with group testing? Our proposed testing strategy instead starts with a limited testing budget and finds an allocation that maximizes its potential. By relaxing the requirement that each individual receives a diagnosis, we are able to cover many more people with the same number of tests. This allows us to design a mechanism that simultaneously keeps infections down while keeping the university as open as possible. In order to optimize test allocations, we exploit the fact that our university population is heterogeneous. First, we cluster the population into categories, for instance professors, canteen workers, and students. Then we allocate a certain number of tests to each category and perform group tests within each category on a weekly basis. After each test, we propose a simple containment policy. Whenever a group test is negative, everyone continues as normal. If the test is positive, everyone in the group is told to self-isolate. Note that this might lead to healthy individuals self-isolating unnecessarily. A key question is how to determine the optimal test allocation, how many tests each category should receive, and how large the pools for group testing should be. The performance of each test allocation is evaluated according to 4 testing objectives, which we compute in part by using data provided by the university: maximizing the expected number of critical COVID cases prevented, and minimizing the expected number of individuals self-isolating unnecessarily in each category: academic staff, cafeteria workers, and students. Let's revisit our model university. One approach is to prioritize academic staff and allocate them 250 individual tests. We will use the remaining tests to confirm symptomatic cases. The tests themselves are not very informative, and many critical cases will go undetected. However, nobody will self-isolate unnecessarily. Instead, we could choose a random assignment of 500 groups of size 10 from the whole population. Although we cover a larger portion of the population and prevent many critical cases, we unnecessarily self-isolate individuals of all types. Some superspreader cafeteria workers may also slip through the cracks. We can improve this by differentially allocating tests across population categories. Suppose we apply 250 tests of group size 2 to academic staff, 100 tests of group size 5 to cafeteria workers, and 150 tests of group size 10 to students. This covers the academic staff and cafeteria workers completely. We catch more cases than before, as we prevent superspreader events from cafeteria workers and professors. Moreover, we see fewer healthy individuals unnecessarily self-isolating than in our previous example, since we consider smaller group sizes for academic staff and cafeteria workers. Suppose we instead test cafeteria workers at group size 10. This frees up more tests for students, and ultimately we prevent more critical cases. It does, however, come at the cost of unnecessarily quarantining more healthy cafeteria workers. Let's take a look at the performance of our 4 strategies side by side. Though the first has no unnecessary self-isolations, it does a very poor job at preventing critical COVID cases. The second strategy strikes a better balance than the first, but we notice that it is strictly worse than the last 2 alternatives presented. We say that the strategy is Pareto dominated by the last 2 alternatives, and hence we can safely rule it out. The final 2 strategies, on the other hand, are examples of the trade-offs from choosing different group sizes and testing allocations for each category. Indeed, if a policymaker has a strong preference to prioritize preventing unnecessary quarantine in cafeteria staff, they may prefer the former option over the latter. Our test and contain mechanism explicitly computes the performance of all testing allocations according to the 4 healthcare and containment metrics. Furthermore, our web application helps policymakers by removing strategies that are Pareto dominated, and provides a systematic way to explore allocations on the Pareto frontier of the given testing objectives. In order to assist university officials, we built a web application that helps them decide on the test allocation that suits their institution's priorities best. Here we've preloaded data that matches our university example. You can play around with our web app at demo.testandcontain.com and see our full parameter settings by clicking the Model Details button. Let's take a look at how to explore solutions that match our priorities. For each solution, we show how well it does on each of the 4 objectives. The purple containment objectives denote the number of people self-isolating unnecessarily, so smaller is better. The orange health objective denotes the number of prevented infections, so larger is better. In order to hone in on desirable solutions, we can set thresholds for each of the 4 objectives. This automatically filters out solutions for which one of the containment objective values lies above their threshold, or the health objective lies below its threshold. If we're interested in minimizing unnecessary containment among the cafeteria, for instance, we can reduce its threshold accordingly. In general, there will be more than one solution that satisfies the thresholds. The app tells us how many solutions there are, and we can explore these one by changing the selection box. If we want to save a solution temporarily, we can also click the Save button and it will appear below. We simulated a university population as a network in which professors and cafeteria workers have a higher network degree than students. At each time step, an infected node infects a neighbor or recovers with certain probabilities. We also allocate a fixed daily budget of 16 group tests. Our simulations show that a random group testing strategy reduces the peak number of infections by 50%, while the test and contain strategy performs even better, with a 70% reduction in infections. We used the number of quarantined staff members to compare 2 different priority profiles. In the first, the cost of isolating cafeteria workers is less than that of professors, and in the second, the costs are equal. As expected, the number of cafeteria workers that are quarantined is lower when we increase their cost of isolation. This demonstrates the flexibility given to administrators to decide on the trade-offs between different testing objectives. Thanks for watching our video. We hope that you got some insights in how we are empowering universities in Mexico to reopen. If you want to find out more, please visit our website or get in touch by email.